Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, troops of the Nigerian Army repel night attack on Gunnery town in Yobe State as two female suicide bombers blow themselves up in separate attacks in Adamawa State. Governor Shatima lays fears over reports claiming Boko Haram is in control of some councils, says insurgents have lost foothold in the state. As the November 1st deadline for anti-open grazing in Benue State approaches, Governor Otom seeks the assistance of military over implementation of law. And thousands troop out in Barcelona to participate in Spain's unity rally, calling for the jailing of sacked Catalan leader. We begin tonight in northeast Nigeria, where two female suicide bombers have died after detonating improvised explosive devices strapped to their bodies in Dara village near Gulak, the administrative headquarters of Madagali local government area of Adamawa State. Our correspondents in Adamawa State gathered that the first explosion occurred at 8 p.m. yesterday, while the second, which went off at about 7:30 a.m. today, is suspected to have targeted a church. A woman with an 8-month-old baby on her back was hit by the second explosion and is said to have lost an eye, while her baby sustained minor injuries. Both are receiving medical attention. The chairman of Madagali Local Government Council, Alhaji Muhammad Yusuf, who spoke to our correspondent in Yola, said the operation of the military in Sambisa is pushing the terrorists into communities. He calls on the people to be more vigilant. The explosions in Adamawa come as troops of the Nigerian Army last night repelled an attack by suspected Boko Haram terrorists in Gunnery community in Yobe State, northeast Nigeria. A spokesperson of the 3rd Division of the Nigerian Army, Colonel Kayode Ogunsanya, confirmed the attack but did not give any casualty figures. The latest attack in Yobe comes 3 days after the insurgents carried out a coordinated attack on a military outpost in Sesawa town of Damaturu local government area. Large numbers of displaced residents have been returning to Gunnery following the relative peace in the agrarian community. Residents who spoke to Channel Television commended the timely response of security forces to yesterday's attack. The attacks in the northeast are coming amidst the claims by the military that troops have decimated the insurgents. However, across some of the towns and villages, especially in Borno State, by both indigents and humanitarian workers, they say the work there has been tough. The next report examines the situation in the face of intermittent attacks by the insurgents.
Yet another attack by insurgents between yesterday and today, making it a worrisome development as regards security in the northeast. Just when it appears there's been a break, the bomb goes off. This latest bombing comes after the deadly attacks of September 18th in Konduga, Borno State, which left 18 civilians dead and 40 others injured. According to a recent report by the United Nations, some local government areas in Borno State are inaccessible to aid workers as a result of threats posed by Boko Haram set. The report says presence of mines, improvised explosive and unexploded ordnances had slowed down the response by humanitarian agencies in Borno, Yobe and Adamawa states. In September alone, there were at least 5 suicide bomb attacks. There are no doubts that the military operation in the northeast has brought significant results. However, some key indicators show that the fight is far from being over. President Muhammad Buhari, on his October 1st broadcast to the nation, said this about insecurity in the northeast. We have made progress. Boko Haram was defeated by last December, only resorting to cowardly attacks on soft targets, killing innocent men, women and children. Nigerians should thank our gallant men of the armed forces and police for rescuing large areas of the country captured by insurgents. Now, residents in Borno, Yobe and Adamawa State, as well as several neighboring states, go about their daily businesses in relative safety. Off quote. Truly, credits must go to the Nigerian military this far, but Nigerians clearly want an icing on the cake, so that attacks on both soft and hard targets will be finally confined to the history books. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Well, the situation in the northeast, especially in Borno State, may not be as horrific as may have been reported, according to the state's governor, Kashim Shettima. He told our political correspondent, Shiwon Kimaloye, on our program, Sunday Politics, that although Boko Haram activities are still impacting some areas, the insurgents are not holding any territory in Nigeria.
Honestly, I beg to disagree with the UN report, because we have been on the ground for quite some time. We as the sitting administration, and we should be in a better position to tell the world the ground realities in the state. The Boko Haram are there in the Sambisa forest. I'm not disputing that fact. The Boko Haram are scattered in almost all parts of the state, but that they no longer have the strength to hold on to any territory in the Federation of Nigeria. But we have them in Konduga local government, in Kalabalge, in Marte. As I said, for now, I will allow almost all our people to go back to their communities, except 2 local government areas where the peace is still fragile. So until those islands are cleared of the remnants of the Boko Haram, the people of Marte, the people of Abadam will have to exercise some patience. But with all sense of responsibility, I'm telling you, Abadam, Malampatari, Marte are under the firm grips of the federal troops. I believe that apart from pursuing the military end, we should also explore the political end.
How would this look like, the political solution that you're talking about?
The political solution I'm talking about has to do with moderate elements within the sect that were pushed by economic circumstances to join the sect, that are amenable to dialogue, that are willing to lay down their arms to be de-radicalized, rehabilitated, and reintegrated into the society. Like we have 2 major camps, the Mohammed Noor faction and the Shekau faction. Shekau is a rebel lunatic. It's a nihilist, impervious to human reason, that is very difficult for us to get into any dialogue with. But I believe that the Mohammed Noor faction is more amenable to dialogue. I believe that talking to moderate elements would also give us the opportunity to break their ranks, so that in that way we can have a lasting peace in the northeast sub-region.
Borno State Governor Kashim Shettima to further examine the issues surrounding the security in the northeast. I'm being joined on the news at 10 by retired military officer Colonel Francis Irabo. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Francis Okosum.
Sorry, Francis Okosum, my sincere apologies. Now, there's no doubt that Boko Haram militants have been largely rooted. How would you describe the continuing attacks that we're seeing in some towns in the northeast?
Well, I can appreciate the discomfiture of the theater commanders at this moment. However, this is not unexpected. When you have asymmetric warfare as you have there, you would expect that the insurgents would take any opportunity available to them to cause this kind of mayhem, to cause this kind of disaffection, because by such attacks, they're causing disaffection among the populace. The terrorists decides to attack you because he wants the government, the establishment, to look incapable, and that's precisely what they are trying to achieve, and that's what they possibly are achieving.
The governor of Borno State has disagreed with the UN coordinator for humanitarian affairs that some of the local government areas are still under Boko Haram control because they don't have access to some of these areas because of the activities of the insurgents, so they say. Do you think that the concern that they have is misplaced?
I wouldn't think the concerns are misplaced. See, you don't have complete control of the ground out there because the terrorists have dominance in certain areas. but we don't have large swath of territory under Boko Haram control, as we had, say, in 2015, when, according to Daily Telegraph, you had 20,000 miles of territory controlled by.
So are you saying that some areas are still being held by Boko Haram?
No, I am saying Boko Haram is there in the northeast, and where they are is territory they occupy, but not to the extent that it interferes with the overall maneuvering or governance of the northern states.
Okay, but let's assume that the insurgents are not holding any territory like the military says. How are they able to operate then? How are they able to move about in vehicles with weapons without being noticed by the military operatives?
The difference between the Boko Haram and the conventional army is precisely that. They are not the conventional forces that you can mark out as, say, country A or B fighting. You can say, you can determine their order of battle. That is to say, we have this country, they have the headquarter elements here, they have this unit there, they have that formation there. Then you can plan on such information, on such data. Boko Haram doesn't have any fixed disposition.
But they are moving about in the northeast.
That's what we're talking about. Because they move about, and they're not dressed in uniforms, are they? They are not dressed in uniforms. They're just like any other person. That's
because they're trying to blend into the community.
They do blend into the community because they are insurgents. Anywhere in the world, insurgents would be like that. Insurgents don't come out like regular armies and dress like regular soldiers so you can mark them out. No, they don't. That's the difference.
So you were on track talking about how they move about and how they're still able to carry out their activities in the northeast without being noticed by the military.
Not so. I didn't say so. What I'm saying is because they are what they are and because they are who they are more able to blend with the populace as against, say, the Nigerian soldiers who are moving. Nigerian soldiers are dressed in full combat gear. I mean the regular soldiers, the combatant soldiers. They are dressed in full regular gear, so you can tell them from the civilians. But no. Not so with the terrorists.
Well, some say it will be quite impossible to wipe out the insurgents. I mean, it's also quite impossible to wipe out terrorism, but you can bring it down to a minimum. You can, control activities. You can restrict their movements and so on. What would be the best way to secure remote towns and villages that are still experiencing these isolated attacks?
Actually, let me say something. In 2015. As I said earlier, you had so much land in the hands of the terrorists. Between then and now, so much has been done. So much ground has been covered. All the territories cannot be covered at the same time. It will take some time. It will take some effort. And should I also add that the factor of intelligence has a lot to play here. I would not put any of this to failure of intelligence, not at all. I would say that the various segments of society, the various arms of the establishment and the system should come together, should come into play here. The civilians, these people live in their midst. They should be able to tell one person from the other. Should be able to say, this person is not what we think he portends, or what he presents himself to be, or they present themselves to be. So
that seems like a lot of responsibility on the civilians because their own lives are in danger. I mean, they have these insurgents living with them. Exposing any insurgents is also a threat to your own life.
There you go. So precisely, you find some channels to reach the authorities to say, this is what we think is untoward here, and then expect something to be done. Otherwise,
Colonel Okosun, thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
You're welcome.
In part two, after the break, residents of some towns in Adamawa, Borno and Yobe states converge on Bassa, Adamawa to celebrate the return of peace in their area. Please join us again.